between where we were this year, presently, and where we need to be. Matt, if you want.
Sure. Well, again, we're getting at this really early this year, which is, I would always say it's good to get a good start. Really these initial department budgets are, the initial requests. We did not review these like we're doing this year in the past. What is in my executive budget and what is in these departmental budgets are going to be very different and likely to the tune of about $5 million. So with that gap from the request to what's in the executive budget, I'm going to try to get as close to where we were last year as humanly possible, which is going to be some very, very difficult decisions, I think. But obviously that's what we're working through now, and we're going to take a look at it, and but I think it's good that we're getting a start. And then my budget will come out September 5th, and we'll take it from there. But we are looking at some big increases in some budgets, and we're as you saw in the thing, with about 200,000 or so in tax cap increase.
269 or something?
Yeah, it's going to be a challenge, and as many of you know, oftentimes the first maybe $3 or $4 million might not be the hardest part. It's that last $1 million, and so. But that's what we're going to have to work through over the next couple months. So as far as process goes, before we go any further, I'd be happy to take any questions or anything like that.
Anyone?
I just wanted to ask you a question. Could you go over the $200,000 increase in tuition again? Maybe I wasn't listening. What's causing that? Is it a raise in rates, or is it a raise in the perceived?
Today is 2016. When I prepared the budget for 2016, it had $200,000 more in it than it does right now.
Requested.
Going through this,
Requested.
I requested $200,000 more. Going through this process, it was cut.
Understood.
Now you got it? Going next year, because I need it this year, going next year, got to go back
So you're
in.
going to fall short this year.
I'll fall short this year. If you take it away, I'll fall short next year.
No, what are your projections of falling short this year?
160.
200,000, or did you say 150?
Was it?
150 to 160 is what she's projecting we're going to have to find for
This
this
year.
year to pay the bill.
Yeah.
Moving forward, we could take 300,000 out of the budget for this coming year. The bottom line is, whatever the number is, we got to pay a bill.
For that.
If we luck out and you don't have the cost, it's
And the
a,
state has a way, if you don't
Crapshoot.
pay their bill, they stop paying you. And not just in public health, but across the board. At least that's what they say.
okay. Next on our agenda, we have the district attorney.
Good afternoon, everyone. Afternoon.
Go ahead. Go ahead, DA. Give us the rundown.
Well, the rundown is essentially, I'm asking for three things. I'm asking for my secretary's salary to come in line with the increases that have been given to the sheriff's secretary. Over the last, I think from 2008 to 2010, it was my secretary got a $4,000 increase and the sheriff's got a $10,000 increase. So there's a $6,000 difference there that I don't know how that's justified. I'm asking for an extra day for my investigator to go from 3 days to 4 days, which would be about another $7,000 a year because of the increased duties that he's got, both in our caseload and now with the ignition interlock monitoring. And the executive can tell you that the state set up this ignition interlock system that Lucille and I have to deal with, and they didn't tell you how to do it. They just said, here, do this. And then after we've been doing it for 4 years, like golfing for 4 years without a lesson, they came in and said, oh, hey, your swing's all wrong. You're doing this all wrong. And then, what they audit 6 counties, Lucille? 5 in the whole state. And then they issued this report, and it looks like, oh, we're the dumbbells. Of course, everybody else is doing the same thing we are. And then they say, okay, here's what your corrective action is. So that has added an awful lot of work to the office. Then I've got one clerk typist that we'd like to upgrade to a senior clerk typist because she's really doing.
What's the difference? What's the difference in pay?
You know, I was looking in here and Nancy didn't have that.
$1,400.
1,400 for that one? Okay. So, and I just like to point out, because, you know, this is different than the Board of Supervisors. This is fairly new. But since I've been district attorney, the taxpayers haven't really paid for anything in the district attorney's office other than supplies and personnel. We've used forfeiture money to purchase all of our equipment, which includes furniture, computers, other equipment that we use, you know, technical stuff for trials. We've also provided a lot of equipment for all the police agencies in the county, state police, all the local PDs, and the sheriff's department. So, I mean, we've really pretty much held the line for a long time, and I'm just asking for these little increases this year.
Now, so I'm adding that up and I'm seeing 14,000 or something, but it shows about a 40,000 difference. The other part of that is the mandated salary, which is increased from this
Right.
to last. Just so everybody is aware, that's the
Yeah.
extra 30, that's the mandate, that's
Right.
what it is.
Unfunded.
So really, barring that, what you're looking at is about a $14,400 increase over last year's.
Right.
Questions?
I just have one. Your secretary, does she stay on once you're done, or does she leave with you? Or
It depends upon whether the next district attorney wants to keep her.
just curious?
She serves at the pleasure of the district attorney. Right, she's non-bargaining.
Right.
But your argument for that is, no matter who it is, it should be in line. That's the argument you were
Right.
making. No matter who it is, how do you justify
They're
it?
at the same
Doing the
level,
same thing.
essentially. Yeah, confidential secretary to the department.
Anything else? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
He does it to everybody else. So what? Okay, you want me to wait? No. Lucille,
Are you ready?
we are ready.
Okay, I'll start off with a mistake.
That's good.
In my revenue item, the stop DWI money, we put in at 29.5, it's really 25,000.
Oh, that's not good.
It's just a small mistake. But it did change my total local source to 51,000 from 55,000. And then my total revenue went down from 196,390 to 191,890. Beyond that, there's not really a whole lot of change in my budget. It's pretty much the same as last year. A couple of little things went down, some things went up. Probably my biggest increase overall was I put in some money for furniture for our new building. I had asked last year for $10,000 because we're moving to a new building for various things, and I grossly underestimated how much it would cost. One of the big things we're doing is changing the filing system. The building was built with recesses in the walls for brand new filing system. I didn't think it was going to be $13,000, but it was. So there were other things I couldn't buy this year that I would like to buy next year. So I've increased that line item. Beyond that, everything else is essentially the same.
Questions?
What should that 13,000 on filing system?
That was how much the filing system cost. That I was able to buy this year. But we needed other things. For instance, there's a break room that had no furniture in it. We needed tables, chairs, a refrigerator, and a microwave. We have a conference room. I have a table right now. I don't have a conference room. I have a shared office that officers share inside the conference room. And it seats 6, 7, 8 people. Well, there's 13 people in my office, so we can't all sit around this table. So I need to order a bigger table, more chairs. I needed chairs for the reception area. Right now, we have, I think, 5 chairs up there. They're kind of old, broken chairs that our clients sit in. Now we have an actual reception area, and I didn't have anything to put in there. So these are the kinds of things that I'm going to need.
Lucille, the revenue with the stop DWI that you said was, is that the very 1270 line? Is that shared
Yes,
services?
Yes.
Okay. So that should really read,
That should be 25,000. We also get this SDPP money, that's 45. The total is 29.5. We just kind of.
okay, so we should have 29.5 over
Yes.
there. And then we need to reduce,
Reduce the local source to
The-
51,000. And then the total revenue is reduced by about by that amount. So
by
it's
191.
890.
Okay. Any other questions for Lucille? Really, your budget's almost mirroring, is that the right word, mirroring
Last year's.
last year? Okay, thank you. County clerk, we can go early. Go ahead, Helen.
Good evening. Unlike everyone else, I think my budget might be reduced this year. My appropriations, I kept as the same as last year and even the previous year. Lower. It's lower than the last year. Okay, for revenue, I am asking you not to increase the revenue. We even got an email from the Office of the Controller. The sales tax revenue is down, so I would like to leave it the same. Have you look at that closely.
Did we hit it this year, though? I mean, are we close to what we budgeted?
Well, last year, we added additional revenue because of the sales tax, the vehicle use tax, which we're doing good on that. It's about 300,000, and I'm asking you to keep that the same. But then last year, they put in because Matt wanted to increase the mortgage tax. And so we didn't do that, so we're not going to get that revenue. So-
Additional, right?
And I think it reflects in my budget, right, Sean? You know, I didn't have anything to do with that, so, but my regular revenue is, I would like you to keep it at 700,000, and the clerk's fees, 300,000. But that's another issue. I wanted that to be separated because that's motor vehicle, and it goes in the same line. So, other than that, I haven't asked for anything. I asked for the full-time clerk that you approved last year to be reduced to a part-time.
You said the total revenues was 700 and some thousand?
700,000.
I'm not seeing that.
700 plus 300,
Where is it?
for a total of $1 million.
Okay.
Oh,
It's on the
gotcha,
revenue sheet.
gotcha.
So it's 300,000 lower than last year.
The only thing that I am asking for is in data processing, because it goes under his budget, I'm asking for a scanner. We have 3 reader printers that are used in our office, 2 are obsolete. The third one, we can't get parts for, so I'm asking for a scanner, and that's in the data processing budget. That's it.
Sean, because it's such a large revenue stream, are you kind of on the same page with Helen there in your thinking? Are you, while you're both here, I figure we might as well.
I had to go back and look to see what the breakdown of the 1.3 last year was.
Okay. So maybe you could do that and just let us,
Yeah, I can let you know.
yeah.
Well, I think I have, what do you need to see, the budget? I have it.
I mean, we don't have to do it now. I just am looking for his input at some point.
See what was budgeted last year?
before we adopted the motor vehicle.
Question for Rich.
Right.
Okay.
See, you budgeted for mortgage tax.
Right, and then it didn't go through.
You never did, so.
Right, okay. Terry has a question.
To go back to the mortgage tax, what exactly, could you explain what the increase was and, you know, were you raising it a certain percentage?
Okay, there's two kinds of mortgage tax. You can increase the rate we're at, or what was budgeted last year was for mortgage tax expense. That's the expense that we get. We get $2,867.08 a month because of what we do. And we can go up higher than that, but there was always the theory that it took away from the towns. And that's why it never got increased, okay?
Helen, is it possible for you, knowing what the increase that was proposed was going to be, tell us what the difference would have been based on this year's?
Oh, yeah, because Matt told me try to get 100,000.
I mean,
So that's what I think was budgeted. And when I checked with mortgage tax, he said that he would approve that because, see, I gave you a survey. They did a survey of county clerks this year, and they're all over the place. Some county clerks take money for mortgage tax, some do not. Some take everything they can get. So it would be whatever you wanted. It could cover employees, equipment, anything to do with mortgage tax. And we haven't had that increase in years.
right. Terry, go ahead and finish. Sorry about that.
Yeah, well, maybe Bob can explain it too. I'm not quite sure where the money's coming from.
I'm
Yeah.
not quite sure too, so I was going to ask you, talk about two different methods.
Yeah, there's two different
One is
mortgage
the
tax.
reimbursement from the state for handling, for collecting, is that correct?
Okay. The mortgage tax expense that was budgeted last year, the revenue, is expense that we get monthly, okay?
From
The
the state?
No, from the mortgage tax that we collect.
Okay, but you said that it's the same amount every month.
Yeah, that's what you approved. That's what was approved, $2,867.
That's our,
Well, as a real estate, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not this.
Okay.
Mortgage tax, we're one of the lowest. I think we're 1%.
And we had proposed to go to what?
And you know what, years ago, you were approved by the state, and then the state decided not to let the counties do that. There was a period of time they wouldn't let you. Now they're letting them do that again, but you chose not to do it. because
What were we proposing to go to last
Everybody was
year?
running for election that year.
What were we proposing to go to last year, from 1% to what?
Pardon me?
What were we proposing to go to that never happened? Go from 1%
I think it
to?
was 1.25.
Was it one?
We're 3/4, I think it was 1% or 1.25.
And what would that have done for us, is what my question was.
What's that?
What would that have done for us if we did that, based on this year's?
Well, that's, you don't know. It
Well, you-
depends on the mortgage tax.
No, I know, but you would know, because you know what come in this year. And once you know what comes in, and you add 0.5% to it, that would have told you what the upswing would have been, right?
I don't have that figure today.
No, I mean, but like to date, you know
Based
how,
on 3/4%, like I
Yeah.
said, it varies from roughly
much
maybe
mortgage
200 or
is-
300,000 a year is what we collect out of 3/4%.
Yeah.
You're gonna add another
0.5%.
potentially 100 to 150.
Okay,
If that had passed, but now you would have to go back because
right.
that legislation expired. You'd have to actually
Yeah.
get that special legislation.
But real property could tell us the amount of sales.
That's what I'm getting at,
And
Bob.
They could give us, they could graph it so it's a constant, and you could understand that. I think without understanding the volume of real estate sales in any given year makes, this is a tough decision. If we can get that from real property,
Yeah, we, I
charge
can
somebody
get that
internally?
information, but
Would
it's
you
never
please?
been discussed all these years, so that's why I don't have it today.
No, I'm not asking for it today, but Bob makes a good point. If you go to real property and say, look, what were the actual sales for year 2015? And even though it's Monday morning quarterbacking, had we raised it 0.5%, here's what would have equated to in revenue.
So you can trend it.
And you can trend it over a 5-year period.
Over the 4 or 5 years and identify.
We are one of the lowest in the state, and just because we are one of the lowest in the state, doesn't make people move in here. Half the people don't even know about the mortgage tax that they pay.
Till they
when
buy the
they're buying
house.
a house. Yeah.
All
But I'm
right.
not proposing it.
Barb?
Yeah, why are we keeping the projection at 1.3? Only because I'm looking at 14 and it was around 700 for the revenue. And then 15 wasn't quite. It seems like we're hoping, which I love hope, but if we're projecting that we're going to make 1.3 in Sean's thinks,
Well, it's a
Well,
million
She's proposing to reduce it down to 1.
to 1. It was
Going
1.
back to 13 and 14, we did not have vehicle use tax at that time.
understand?
So that's where the additional, from the 7 to the 1 is coming from, is vehicle use tax. That was passed last year, year before.
Last year.
Where are we coming up with a reduction of $300,000?
That's what we do. I give that report to Terry.
Because, Bob, we proposed 1.3 in the budget, but then after the budget was passed, the mortgage tax didn't go through. So what actually happened was we were closer to $1 million.
Okay.
Correct, Sean?
Yes.
So we're getting down to nuts and bolts, the value of the mortgage tax anticipated around $300,000.
Well, you
But
could,
that was the projection in the past.
had it passed,
The situation you have is, if you want to potentially increase that, you can address that mortgage tax issue again, but it's the issue, it's that town, city versus county issue.
Can you
Because you're gonna take money away from the towns and the city to give it to the county.
Can you explain that? The mechanics of that, why is it taken away from the towns?
Because the way mortgage tax is distributed, what Helen collects, she takes her $2,800 and change a month for expenses. She has got the approval through the state that she could increase that up to potentially about $8,000 a month to get a total of $100,000 for the county.
See,
But- Go ahead. But
Every-
if you take that expense away off of the top of the mortgage tax, that's going to reduce the amount you distribute to the towns, villages, and cities.
So we're distributing it, after we take our cut, we distribute the balance based on a ratio of population
Based
or
on the,
assessed valuation to the towns.
It depends on how you want to distribute it. If you want the county to get more money, we take more mortgage tax expense. In every municipality, according to that survey, you can see it. Everybody handles it differently.
okay. Matt, did you have anything? Anyone else?
No, I'd just like to input that having a more realistic number, but thank you so much for all the detailed explanation, I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Helen. Okay, moving on, economic development. Nobody's here yet, because we're early. So let's move on to Kelly, so she can go home and have supper.
I'm glad I got here early.
Before we get started, I think a nice, big Montgomery County. We got and we haven't done any official announcements yet, but we did receive the records management grant for $150,000, which was extremely competitive. And I think Kelly for leadership, also, getting the other municipalities to buy in, not just by signing a paper, but also committing real dollars, I think was a big help for us. But obviously, we wouldn't be here without her, so she did a great job on it. Now now we move to the more difficult, not more difficult, but just as difficult task of implementation and getting people to change habits and go from paper to computer, which is going to be fun.
And the only thing we have to work on now is just getting our NWD forms in and we'll final approval. I mean, as far as my budget request for 2017, there's virtually no change. And the reason I say that is because I did put in for $7,000 for professional services that would complete the cultural resources survey for our historic properties of western Montgomery County. That was the balance of what I needed, but I just got an $8,000 grant from the Broughton Foundation, so I don't need that request anymore.
Is that in here?
Yep.
That's in the request. I just got the grant about a week ago.
Where's that in here?
That would be line 4431.
Professional services.
Yeah, so it says 7,000, but that's no longer necessary.
So we can zero that out, and that lowers that number to 98, 99.
That would be for 2017.
You have to add the revenue, but you gotta keep the expenses.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I just put in a resolution for 16 years. Yes. So yeah, that would bring down my appropriations to $2,100. I just had to increase my 4476 association membership dues by $5. Otherwise, everything else stays the same.
Good job.
So.
Any questions?
That's it in a nutshell.
Okay. No questions? All right, thank
No,
you.
You did good.
Thank you. So, we're waiting on economic development, which is set to kick off in about 40 minutes.
How long?
40 minutes. Yeah, if you want to call, well, Jeff was here, so.
I can go get it.
Jeff, we could go take care of Jeff.
How do you,
I'll see if Ken's over there.
what do you think about the mortgage tax?
I'm not sure.
I wouldn't raise the mortgage
Not this
tax.
year. If it's just a, Robin Peter will pay Paul and we're taking away from the towns isn't fair.
I'll ask you that when you play the plowing contract.
Everybody have his cell phone number. Ken?
Ken's cell phone? I think I got it.
Maybe Bob does.
Just don't broadcast it.
Oh,
I got it right here.
No, I have it.
Here, I'm calling.
Jeffrey.
Hello?
Jeff, we're running early,
I see that.
so,
Here's Ken.
oh, here's Ken.
We're early.
Get to real early, right?
You want me to let him go?
No,
Whatever you guys want to do.
I think another congratulations is in order. This one's a little more official.
No, I don't want to advertise it.
Mr. Smith shot a 79 recently.
Are you kidding?
I did. Best round of my life.
And count how many times people call you a liar. 'Cause I remember I
Yeah.
shot 80 last year, nobody
And he
believed
wanted
me.
to play with me yesterday.
I actually parred the back nine. Never done that in my life.
Can you?
Now I'll play next week and I'll shoot 105.
Can Joe?
That's a fact, yeah. I had one double bogey and 2 birdies on the back nine for the even par.
I tied my best score ever there the other day of 92. And I had an 8 on one hole and a 7 on the other. And I would have broke it.
That's what we're talking about.
I know.
About varmints.
Now let's see if we can get the budget down instead of our scores. All right, Jeff.
So the sheet I just handed y'all, and I'll take responsibility for it. Maybe I didn't attach it properly, but I talked to Sean and Matt. Those are some increases that I did ask for the part-time deputy coordinators that assist me in the office, and they don't reflect in your budget. So those increases total $7,000.
Everybody?
Everybody all together, and I reduced lines by $6,000. So I'm asking for a net of $1,000 to cover these. And just to give you a heads up, like the fire coordinator position, I'm requesting to get it to $12,000. That's $1,000 a month for our fire coordinator, who responds to every structure fire in the entire county, which is a lot more than you would think, and has numerous meetings, and it's just, I think it's a job that's worthy of it. The other guys, like Deputy Director Rick Sager, I'm asking for his to go from $4,500 to $6,000 a year. And Rick is retired now and been spending a lot more time with me. Jeff Kazar from $2,000 to $3,000. Sean Piasecki and Tim Miller from $2,500 to $3,000. So they're a little bit of an increase, but when you, at the grand scheme of things, when you look at what they're making for what they do and what they're on the hook for, it's really next to nothing.
So overall, your budget's 1,000 up.
Well, no, I said the pay increases are 1,000 more than I was able to reduce the lines. The other 2 things in my budget that you'll see is a vehicle. Last year I put in for a vehicle and a shed for the Yost Fire Training Center. And when the county executive and the treasurer said budget was tough, I told them to take it out immediately, that we'd survive another year. Well, we have survived another year, but now Dale's vehicle is a 2004 with over 132,000 miles, and you know, it's an emergency response vehicle. The other thing I want to point out to the legislature, and it's not anyone's fault here, but the county hasn't purchased an emergency management vehicle in over 25 years. We've been able to secure them all, every one of them 100% from grants. The state has changed their policy on vehicles. They consider it supplanting. They don't want to buy them anymore on grants, that they feel the county's responsibility. But I did get permission to use half a grant, so I have the revenue, the $23,811 they approved for me to put towards the vehicle. So I have half the vehicle paid for by grant if the legislature supports the second. I realize it's a tough budget year. If we don't get it this year, I'll ask
What's
next.
the numbers?
23,811 is in the revenue,
Okay.
and I put $50,000 in the vehicle line.
So the overall is 24,000.
What's that?
This is 48,811.
Does it? I apologize, and I put 25,000 from the county.
So the overall difference in your budget from this to last is 24, 26?
If you subtract the vehicle out of my budget, and then the other thing that you're going to see in there that's an increase is there's $10,000 for the city of Amsterdam. That is a lump sum that I'm hoping the county will recognize what the city is doing for us now in emergency services. I've met with Chief Woody numerous times and Mike Bill, the mayor. The city of Amsterdam is really our initial hazmat response team right now for any place in the county. If there's a hazardous material incident, whether it's in St. Johnsville, Kanjahari, Fonda, town of Amsterdam, the city of Amsterdam responds with 4 firefighters and an engine. And we meet them with our hazmat equipment. And then we're backed up and supported by the volunteers throughout the county. But volunteers have come to the point where it's difficult to get them to respond, and it's difficult to keep up with the training.
Where is that, Jeff?
Is that miscellaneous supporting?
It's 4438.
That's why I went up 10,000, yes.
Jeff, is there any option of leasing the vehicle?
So replacing Dale's, you mean with a lease? I would have to check with the state to see if they would support it because of the grant money. Certainly it's an option, especially if it's cheaper. But again, with the grant money, I've got to get everything approved through Homeland Security, so I can check on that.
Question maybe for the county attorney. In regards to the 10,000, as Jeff just described it, would that have to be done through a contract with the city, or can we just, how do we do?
I would like to see it be a contract, and even a 3-year contract, something that we could get behind, because I didn't finish my spiel about that. They're also providing confined space rescue for our DPW, our Department of Public Works. So whenever we have a confined space incident where they're doing some work, Amsterdam Fire has agreed to come out and be there, rescue people on standby, which is required.
So similar to contracts that villages have with other fire departments, we could enter into a similar agreement, not the same, obviously, but
Sounds like it has to be an intermunicipal agreement that's sharing services.
right. So we could,
Yeah.
you would suggest probably doing that, right? Not just putting it in the line, cashing a check or sending a check, but some sort of.
And as well as I and Chief Woody would like to see it that way also. I mainly put the money in the line for discussion to see how the legislature felt about it, and moving forward, we can have further discussions, we can do some language, whatever you think is best. But the 2 services that they're providing to us on the county level, we need. You know, it's just a matter of if you feel.
So your total budget, revenues and everything, we're looking at a $26,000 around?
Yes, and if you take the vehicle out, and you take the Amsterdam City money out, and you take that $2,000 line out on your building's ground equipment, that's for storage shed at the training center, my budget is well below what it was last year.
But we can't if we leave it in. We can't take it, if you want it, we can't.
I understand that, I'm just, those are the 3 things that you're gonna see that are affecting the increase, is what I'm trying to say.
I'd like to say a couple of things if I could. One, I support all of it. I think it's great, and I think coming at this point is prudent. $10,000 for working with the city is smart. I think that the Amsterdam Fire Department can really be a huge asset if anything does come up, and if nothing does, it's still brilliant to do this, because you set things up that we can still benefit.
Well, it was necessary. We were at a point that we had to do something to increase our, with the rail tracks and the thruway traveling through our county, we were in rough shape for a hazmat incident, so now we're in much, much better shape. And they're doing it now. So this $10,000 is not like something that's being held over anybody's head, it's just something that I'm trying to do.
Don't they also have a dive team?
They have divers as well. Amsterdam Police and Amsterdam Fire are working right now with my office and the executive's office, and Fulton County and Saratoga County try to share services, share equipment. But if we have a drowning in the county, they are our first responders.
So if we have an agreement that an intermunicipal agreement, we would name all that stuff in it.
And there's so many things that we really haven't had a chance to talk about. There's a high threat incident plan that I've been working on, that they're involved in that. If there's a high threat incident in the county, like an active shooter or something like that, they have agreed to send officers, even if it's to St. John. So, from the police department. So there's a lot of things that we're working on together to better our response situation in the county.
Any more questions?
If we have some time, could Jeff explain how your project's going with the broadband?
Yes, project's going very well. It's still on time, although October's coming quick. The engineer study has been completed for all the tower sites. They've gone to the tower sites to determine where antennas will be hung on the tower sites. The equipment has been identified to be ordered. The base stations have been delivered to all the tower sites, so they're in place. Basically, the next step is to hang the antennas. They're doing studies to make sure that the towers are okay. Hang the antennas, order the equipment, and start to deploy it. So everything's on time. This is the last meeting we had. I set up a mini radio committee. There was somebody from the city of Amsterdam, somebody from the eastern part of the county, somebody from the western part of the county, and somebody from the central part. And we've started to have meetings and work out the programming of the radios, so we get everybody on board with that. And it looks like we're going to break it down to zones, because we have 4 fire grounds, and then we're using state provide the mutual aid VTEC, V-call frequencies. And we're gonna have at least 16, maybe 20 channels in each zone pre-identified. One will be for dispatching, one will be for response, one will be fire ground, one will be for command, interior, fire police, water shuttle, emergency management, and they're all gonna be labeled. And every radio in the county that we issue will be the same way. So if I'm at an emergency scene and they say, grab the radio, when I grab that radio, channel 4 on zone A is channel 4 on zone A across the board. And some highway crews have been in touch also about maybe getting into the system, so it's going very well.
So you anticipate by the end of the year being up, or?
It's supposed to be by the end of October.
Okay.
That's my goal, our goal, and that's what we've been stating all along, and nobody's told me anything
Different.
otherwise.
Okay, good.
Anyone else? Okay.
Stop DWI? No, not tonight, not needed.
You got it with you?
It's the same as same exact as last year.
Okay.
Yeah, so we don't need to, we can cross that off to the...
Okay.
Thank
Martin
you.
Kelly, hang on, Martin Kelly has a question.
Yes, sir.
DWI. The revenues have been declining?
The revenues have been declining. Speaking with the treasurer, we kept our revenues the same this year because we think we're going to make it. So that's a good thing. I've been working with the sheriff's office specifically to try to work on ways to recoup some fine money that's out there in warrants, reports, and we've been successful lately this last month. There's been 6 or 7 people.
So we're not using any of the funds?
We do use a little bit, without having it in front of me, I want to say $10,000, $15,000.
I believe it's 28, yeah.
Is it that much, 28?
So where does that leave that fund balance?
But it's, we don't have it with you right now.
If I remember last year, it got under 100,000. So if that's true, it should be around 75 roughly, is my guess, but.
I can check and let you know. Where that's.
At some point, if the revenues continue the same way, it's going to affect the county budget because we give $46,000 to the sheriff's office, $25,000 to probation, $25,000 to the district attorney's office, and the hit has to happen someplace if it continues that path. At this point, we still continue to fund all the county positions to the best of our ability and the educational items for the kids and the youth, and trying to educate people to stop driving while intoxicated.
But that's the goal, right, to get less people?
It is, but the numbers haven't decreased, so it's not that. It's not like DWI is going away.
Okay.
Because people aren't paying, people are out of the area and they're harder to find.
Oh, okay.
People pay a little bit and then they never finish paying and they disappear into the sunset. So I've been working on the course, but it's difficult.
Okay.
Thanks, Jeff.
Okay, thank you.
Kenneth? Geez, Ken, looks like your budget's down
Yeah, well,
25,000.
Well, there was a couple things that we took out of there. We had that discussion last year. I talked to Tom thinking about it this year. Take all those tourism, the outside tourism dollars that go to the chamber, to put that in the county exec budget for this upcoming year, to take it out of our budget. I have to sign the vouchers and everything that comes through. I always work with the county exec's office for them to sign up on the vouchers and everything that comes through there. So that's the big difference in our budget. The only other thing, I mean, everything's the same. The only other change I had was I did add, I don't know where it was last year, Sean, maybe I added $1,000 to mileage, because we're gonna be over our mileage allocation this year. We've just been out everywhere in regards to projects and everything and staff. Other than that, everything's the same. The revenues for mass transportation, federal, both state and federal mass transportation, that's set by the state. We base these numbers off of the numbers that we got this year, but that changes from year to year. So usually that comes in nice for a budget amendment sometime through the year. That's just an offset revenue in or appropriations out. So the other stuff is the $17,500 for the MCIDA administration. That's the same as last year, and then the $25,000 to administer the old fund, which goes from the CD fund into the general fund to offset some of our department costs. So other than that, it's
Questions?
I just got a quick comment. I just wanted, since we're all here publicly, you know, when we first got here, Ken's office was a little different than it looks now, and we gave him some extra help, and they have been doing a fantastic job from one side of the county to the other. We just went on the trip to DC for the Beech Nut Design Charrette, which can't wait to talk a little bit more about that. Obviously, some big projects, but also helping the towns and the villages and the city with their needs. They've been doing a top-notch job, so I just want to give you a kudos on that.
Great job, Ken. Okay.
Just one question. The professional services line, looks like you're doing away with it?
Well, we may, it depends on what legislator Viniak, it depends if we get a grant or something and we have a contract, we come back to authorize Matt to sign that contract, anything over 75, and then we do the budget amendment at that time. So we don't know, there's a couple that we had out there this year is the Culinary Incubator Grant for the City of Amsterdam. The other one that's out there for 2016, that's in that professional line item, should be, for this year's budget, should be the Ag Farmland Protection Plan. So that's why, and right now, like I said, there'll probably be something that'll come back to you guys in 2017 for that, but that's usually just a wash. If we get a grant, goes out contractual basis, so.
Okay.
Thanks, Ken.
Thanks, Ken.